Hey everyone, John here from Gaming in the Wild, and I've got a review video for you today. It is of a brand new Hades-like that I think is very much worth your attention. It is Lost in Random, The Eternal Die, out today as I'm recording this on Game Pass, all the consoles and PC. This game is really worth your time, especially if you love roguelikes. I will tell you why in this review. As always, your likes are appreciated. You can sub to the channel for more like this, and I will tell you about all of the wonderful things you can get by becoming a patron of this channel, such as extra episodes, behind-the-scenes content creation chat, and an invite to our patron-only Discord over at the end of the video. I also love to hear from you in the comments, so let me know if you enjoyed this review, let me know if you're enjoying the channel, if you'd like to see something done differently, let me know if a new indie gem has crossed your path, that would be great. And with that, let's go. So Lost in Random, The Eternal Die is the first game by Stormteller Games, a new studio that is made out of some of Zoink, some of Image and Form, and some of what was known previously as Thunderful Games. So we assume that some of the original Lost in Random team are a part of that, even though the studio has been through the mill over the last couple of years, I think it's fair to say. It's out now as I'm recording this on PC via Steam, PlayStation 5, Switch and Switch 2, and Xbox Series, including Day 1 Game Pass. And if you are a Game Pass player, then don't miss out on this one for sure. I also think if you have a Switch 2, this could be the perfect game to help break in that shiny new handheld. It is really suited to the handheld format. The game has done medium well critically. It's currently sitting at a Metacritic 85 on PlayStation and 78 on PC, which seems a little low to me. The high review came from PSX Brazil, who said the variety of possible strategies, unpredictable encounters, and immersive setting ensure a journey that is always fresh and intriguing, with constant progression and a strong personality and a lot of style. The low came from Games Radar, who said it's an enjoyable roguelike with satisfying loops, rewarding combat, and lots of features, but the narrative-rich source material is overshadowed by the combat. That sounds to me like the reviewer was expecting a retread of the first game. This is certainly not that. It's not a direct sequel. It is a new game. It is a roguelike set in the Lost in Random universe. Anyone expecting a true sequel in gameplay terms will be disappointed here. It's a different kind of thing, but in my view, it's actually quite a lot better. I try and make it a habit of mine to review the game that is there and not the game that isn't, to review what's in front of me and not what I wish it was, and so that's what I'm going to try and do here. The developers described this game by saying Lost in Random, The Eternal Die is an action-packed roguelike adventure in the world of random. Play as Queen Alexandra and wield her living die companion Fortune as they go all in against the ancient evil that took everything from her. And I have to say about this one, post-Hades roguelikes are a dime a dozen, but this one is something special. The Eternal Die matches the gold standard set by Supergiant with its strong art style, tight, fast combat, and build variety. Unlike much of the genre, it respects your time, and it will take luck, thought, and skill to craft your winning build and achieve your first winning run. So I am definitely on the high side on this game. I had a really good time with it. I've absolutely loved my time with it. I'm red hot on this game. I did play the original Lost in Random. That game, if you're not familiar with it, was a 2021 third-person action-adventure with a few distinguishing features, I would say. It was quite an imaginative game. First of all, it had an incredibly distinctive digital claymation art style, heavily influenced by Tim Burton and specifically The Nightmare Before Christmas. You know, people say Burton-esque a lot, Tim Burton inspired a lot, but I think that what they really mean is that things often just look a little bit like The Nightmare Before Christmas, an absolutely seminal work, and that means tall, spindly weirdos, big moons against dark skies, short, squat monsters with weird personalities, thwarted, cursed creatures, and a general cartoon gothic sensibility with a distinctive, almost Psychonauts-adjacent, offbeat nature. The first game had an interesting story about a pair of sisters who become separated. Queen Alexandra comes down to one town all the way from the heights of Sixtopia. She takes one of the sisters away, they kind of graduate, she comes through all of the different layers of society, she takes away kids, no one really knows what happens to them. There is a thought that they're going to live in Sixtopia, which is like a paradise, but you, the protagonist, are skeptical about that, and you embark on a journey through the 1 town, the 2 level, the 3, the 4, the 5, and all the way up to Sixtopia to find out what's going on with the weird Queen Alexandra, whose vibes are all wrong, and to save your sister. So you embark on a journey through that stratified society of random, where dice rolls and cards form the rules of society where decisions are made by the roll of a dice. It's a gamified society where gambling is the norm. I don't remember all the details of that story, but I do remember just loving that world. Also remember that it had some really interesting gameplay twists. It had real-time strategic combat with dice rolls, with card gameplay. For example, to get a weapon, you had to roll a dice. That allowed you to play cards. You have a handful of cards. If you pull a sword card, then you can play it. You'll have a sword for a while, but it will vanish after the cooldown. You'll have to roll again, play more cards, get different weapons, different things to throw, different things to wield, bow and arrows, etc. So it has skill, it has chance, and it was a fun, distinctive system that really set that game apart. I think because the random concept, the world of random, and the inclusion of chance mechanics in the combat narratively fit. So it all kind of clicked together in a cool way. It wasn't a perfect game, the original Lost in Random. It suffered a little bit from video game ghost train syndrome, as I like to call it, when you walk down a street that is lined with 10 different creatures who are all standing patiently, their entire lives seeming to consist of waiting for you to pass so that they can give you their 2 lines of text and then never speak again or move again. So it was a cool little game. Suffered from that lifeless world problem, and it also had a bit of jank in there. There was a lot of kind of bumping up against stuff, and I remember a bit of frustration with that as well. I did review that game on episode 81 of the podcast, which I will link in the description if you are interested in backtracking and checking out the original Lost in Random. But I will say that I was very pleased when a second game appeared on the cards. I really wasn't expecting it. I don't know how well the first game did, but it's such a promising world. It was so nice to see it happen. So I was really, really stoked, actually, to try out the Eternal Die. As I said at the beginning, I'm a little skeptical about new Hades-like roguelikes, but I tried it. I'm really glad I did, and we'll get into why next. So in the Eternal Die, we actually play as like a little chibi version of Alexandra, the original antagonist, who is sucked into a magical realm inside of a corrupted die. She is forced to replay a series of games, that is, combat gauntlets designed to wipe her out by the die. We don't really know why she's stuck there or how all this happened at the beginning, but as we battle through, we start to uncover the story of what made Alexandra into an evil queen in the first place. How it's a sad story at its heart. So anyone that enjoyed Lost in Random and the lore of it can jump into Eternal Die and be in for a treat. If you didn't play the original Lost in Random, you can still enjoy the story. Story isn't the focus here. It's kind of dished out mostly in occasional dialogue. As we do travel the games again and again and again, as it's a roguelike, we meet lost NPCs who are also trapped here. We meet minions of the die. We meet people from Alexandra's past. Some of the friends we send back to our hub. We can then talk to them between runs. We can do little side quests for them and get to know them. If you find something in the dungeon for them, for example, they might tell you more about what's going on. Or if you pass on a message to someone who is out there, that kind of thing. And I did like that. It does add a little bit of extra interest when you see that little speech bubble appear above a character's head back at the hub and they have something to tell you. It adds a bit of welcome colour. It gives you a cast of friends, a little bit like the House of Hades, pared down quite a lot, I would say. But as it is a hub, you do also have the opportunity to spend your hard-earned currency there. There are 2 currencies to spend, and they allow you to either upgrade your skill tree, which gives you permanent upgrades that you carry from run to run, the usual stuff with a few interesting twists, more health, etc. And then you have 4 weapons that you can also unlock and then upgrade. Each weapon has 4 specialisms, so it leads to, 12 different builds that you can try, really, at least base builds that you can start your true build from. And while those characters do add a little bit of flair, it's the gamey stuff that is all important here. The action is the heart of this game. It is a slick Hades-style roguelike, which means isometric combat, blood-gated rooms where the doors close and you have to defeat waves of enemies until you can leave, levels that randomize from run to run, with selections of rooms that plug together in different ways. There are mini-bosses, there are boss encounters at the end of each level. There are also reward rooms where you might find different boons and relics and that kind of thing. The floors are littered with cash and breakable pots, that make you want to scour the corners of every room that you enter or leave to make sure you have every last piece of gold, because it can make a big difference. You can spend that gold in the shops. There are also mini games like rolling a dice and then fighting that number of enemies for a prize, or a dice rolling board game where the chess piece will hop around the board, landing on various power-ups or giving you nothing at all. You can get all-important healing flasks, you can get relics, or you can come away with nothing. It's always a bit of a bummer when that happens. But again, it's narratively right. We are in the world of random after all. Relics and buffs are really the gold prize here, because relics can give you all kinds of abilities and help you craft builds, help your weapons to do strange and wonderful things that interlock with each other over time. I think you can end up with 15 to 20 relics that all interplay in a different way, in that Balatro Jokers kind of way, and you can create some quite interesting builds out of it, I would say. More on that later. Finish off the basic combat chat. I will say that I think it's wonderful in this game. The game consistently runs at 120 frames per second on my handheld PC, making it feel responsive and snappy and making it look as smooth as silk. So the combat feels just gorgeous and it's very easy on the eye. You have a classic 3-hit combo, the final hit of which can interrupt enemy attacks sometimes. You have a dash dodge to evade that's on a short cooldown. You can throw your die for an area of effect attack and then retrieve it from the play area for more. You can pick up a card at the start of each run, which gives you a card attack. That's one of your, you might as well call it like a magic attack. It might be a poison spray, a lightning bolt, slowing down time, a blast that weakens all the foes in its radius, and so forth. Defeated enemies drop energy shards that top your card attack meter back up, like mana. You have all 3 types of attack to juggle. You have your basic attacks, your card attacks, your dice attacks, and that makes for a lovely rhythm in the combat. Like Hades, it starts to feel like a dance where you can see the invisible steps of the dance and you start to get better at it in a really satisfying way. And the enemies are introduced slowly. You'll fight them, one at a time pretty much at first to get to learn them. But they start to come in really vicious combos as you move on that force a certain type of multitasking as well. You might end up with a bunch of slow-moving, hard-hitting knights that you can evade, but you have to watch out for them, because if they walk up to you while you're fighting off other enemies, they can, really damage your health bar. There are also weak, darting, fly-like things that hit fast, that you have to juggle against projectile-spewing lurkers that hang out far away from you and try and hit you from range. There are spear enemies with rapid flurries of attacks and more. They are introduced one by one, so you can get to know their moves, but then rooms will combine all of them in different interesting configurations when one wave of spear guys ends and a giant wave of projectile enemies begins, and you're kind of caught in the middle. It's really, really fun, really, really engaging. And I think it seems natural, it feels right, but it is actually the result of really excellent game design, the way that the waves fit together, the way that the different enemies complement each other and keep you on your toes. It's just really good stuff. Enemies on each level are also kind of training wheels for the boss fight. The bosses of each area will mirror the attacks of their minions that you've fought tens of by now, just on a grander scale and with some vicious phases and twists added. You start off by learning each enemy's patterns pretty much by taking hits on the chin, but then you learn their moves, you get better at evading them, you learn what strategies work against them, you get to a boss if you're lucky, and each failed run is useful in that you get to learn the patterns a little bit more of the enemies that took you down. So I really liked that. I felt like I was banking knowledge and experience even on failed runs, as well as currency and all that stuff. As you return to the hub after a losing run, you can slowly power up. You can spend your pip dust to get more health, more power, etc. You can spend these little fury fragments to unlock the 4 weapons and then to power them up and to open up new fighting styles with each weapon. Some of the power-ups, the carry-over roguelike elements from the skill tree are game-changing, and you do have to do many, many runs to unlock them all, but they really do affect play. Some of the MVPs for me were auto-healing, so between every room, you claw back a few points of health, meaning that if you're at rock-bottom health, but you can get through 10 rooms unscathed, suddenly your health bar is looking a lot more healthy, and that can really change your run, Get a boon that makes enemies spew out more energy fragments so that you can use your card attacks more often. You can make it so that more gold comes from chests, meaning you can buy more relics and get more powerful more quickly. So no run feels wasted. You come back with currency you power up, you feel stronger, and you go again. And that loop is essential for a roguelike. Not all of them get it right, but it is absolutely nailed here. But that kind of power improvement will only help you so much. You do also have to internalize the enemy's attacks. You have to learn crowd control. You have to learn how to prioritize different enemies and just get better at the game, which really matters in this game. Because there is also build crafting, which is surprisingly engaging and well put together here. So there are really 3 aspects to beating this game, which just kept me on my toes, which gave me the right amount of juggling to do in my mind, and kept me coming back for run after run after run. When you do crest that power curve and really hit the ceiling, it's a bit of a realization. You realize you can't upgrade anymore. You can't brute force victory in this game. You're as powerful as you're going to get. So you're nudged into learning how to take less damage, conserving your precious lives through boss encounters by arriving at them with full health, which in turn means beating combat room after combat room without taking any hits. As well as all that, you have to master the build crafting. Have a little grid of slots which you will be aiming to fill up with relics at the end of combat, and in some shops you will get your relics. They will do different things to your weapons, to your card attacks, to your dice attacks, and by experimenting with them and deciding what kind of build suits you, you can start to get stronger in the game as well. Like, is it burn damage with burn augments, so everything is pretty much always on fire around you, and that fire stacks and stacks and stacks? Is it a card build where you evade a lot and hit with magic, gather up those energy shards and then hit with magic again? Or is it a dice-based build where you're constantly throwing and retrieving your dice? Or is it pure weapon strength and a thick skin so you can take more hits? There is an awful lot available here. My favourite build in the end was something I discovered after about 10 hours and stuck with to the end of the game. I used the bow, specialising in exploding charge shots, which makes it pretty much a grenade launcher. I tried to get my base attack to chill enemies, which makes them cold, makes them frozen, makes them move slowly and take damage. Then I tried to make chilling foes produce lightning bolts that would travel between enemies, and to augment that lightning so that the lightning strikes move between more enemies before expiring, and to max out electrical and chill damage, and adding to my weapon strength and my max health whenever possible. So I ended up with, 2.5 times the amount of base health you begin with, 400 times the base damage you begin with every enemy chilled, slowed, and taking constant damage from bouncing lightning bolts. And figuring out that build was a satisfying journey to me. I'm sure if you play it, you will have fun crafting your own build, finding which weapon suits you best, and figuring out that puzzle yourself. Interestingly, relics also come in different colors. They have ink washes on them. The relics come with red, green, yellow, or blue ink. If you line up 3 relics in a line that have yellow ink, the ink will pop. You keep the relics, but that yellow will power up your card attacks. Red will power up your weapon attacks, blue will power up your dice attacks, and so forth. So you're playing a little match 3 game with your relics. You can also get dye in the late game to drop more ink on different relics in your grid and power yourself up even more. So really engaging mix of skill, learning, and dice rolling and chance in the combat here and in the build craft here. I find this to be a really satisfying form of progression. It involves cresting the power curve, it involves build crafting, and it involves becoming more skilled at the game, and all 3 of those plat together in a really neat way that made it feel very satisfying to me. I think it's very elegantly designed in a way that I rarely see in these games, and so I'm a little bit sad that Metacritic score is sitting where it is. I think the 85 on PlayStation 5 is much more accurate than the 78 we're seeing on PC. I think this game deserves to be in the mid-80s or above, because the game's design is just wonderful. I beat my first run and saw credits after 17 hours. I would say it could have been 15 with a touch more luck on the final boss. And that was the right amount of playtime for me. I don't think roguelikes have to be excessive, endless, system-heavy things that just keep you playing forever. I actually see it as a good thing that's a little bit more pared down. And I think the level of variety here supports the playtime. I think people comparing this game to Rogue Legacy 2 or Hades may say that the build crafting feels sparse and the weapon variety feels lower. But to me, that's a strength. I think those games are a little bit over the top for all of their wonderful qualities. I actually burned out on both of those games. I did see credits on Hades, but not the ultimate good ending. And I never saw the ending of Rogue Legacy 2, despite admiring the game greatly, because it was just too long. Whereas the Eternal Die, I saw credits, I felt happy with my experience, I didn't burn out, it kept me on the hook as long as it had to, and then when I finished it, I was free, and I love that. So the amount of builds here is a strength, in my opinion. Coming to the end of the review, so let's round it out with some highs and lows of Lost in Random, The Eternal Die. Highs for me, the gameplay is close to flawless, in my opinion. I really enjoyed my time with it. I loved playing this game. It's slick, smooth, fast, responsive, wonderfully designed, with perfect game feel, that intangible quality that just makes a game have that juice, you know. The setting and the art are excellent. I'm a sucker for the style. I love The Nightmare Before Christmas. It was a real one-off animated film. So I don't mind new derivatives in that style because The Nightmare Before Christmas isn't coming back anytime soon. The Danny Elfman style score is on point too, adding mood and mystery and eerie discomfort at times. The buildcrafting was fun. Finding my way to a winning build took both skill and chance. Really enjoyed cresting that power curve and then leveling up my own play for the finale. I really enjoyed the voice acting in the game. I haven't mentioned it, but Alexandra is cold and posh and eerie. The circus-ish characters are suitably loopy, although I will say that the froggy boss Ema stood out as having kind of a silly voice that sounded like placeholder audio or something, but the rest was great. And also the playtime is right. A roguelike that you can finish in under 20 hours is right for me. I don't want to be playing the same levels over and over for 50 plus hours to see everything. I get a little bored, frankly. It happened to me with Hades. Even though I did see story credits, I knew there was more, but it was just too much grind. So for me, this is perfectly judged at under 20 hours to finish it. As for lows, I only have two. One is more significant than the other. I would say that the story doesn't quite hit how it was intended to in this game. Get morsels of lore here and there between the action, and it did have a big twist that I barely raised an eyebrow at. While I'm glad that there weren't cutscenes slowing it down, I do think that it might have taken cutscenes to really get across the story, because it is quite complicated. It involves Alexandra, her long-lost sister, her childhood, various characters and the effects they had on her, the black dye and how it came into her life, all of that kind of stuff. While it's interesting, I did find myself clicking through the dialogue to get back to the battling, and so it went over my head a little bit. You know, maybe that's a me thing. I would be interested if other people enjoy the story more. My only other critique is that hub characters don't have enough dialogue. They dry up after a while, so after a certain amount of runs, the hub starts to feel dead. A little bit like the first Lost in Random, they're just kind of standing there. You might want a little chat with the wardrobe lady, or with the giant robot, or with the strange butler, who's your little pal who tells you what's going on. But sometimes they just don't have anything to say, so you just go straight up, power up, and then leave on your next run, rather than hanging out with your misfit crew. So a little bit more attention to that, and a little bit more longevity in the chat that you get from your friends, I think would have gone a long way. In conclusion, I think this is one of the strongest action roguelikes I've ever played, certainly the strongest since Hades. It is the equal of that game in its slick combat, which is a huge stamp of approval. Some players might say it lacks depth and longevity, but as I said, to me that's a strength. It respected my time, the systems support the length, and although beating the Eternal Die does give you a satisfying ending, there is more post-credit content if you want to do it. There are a few side quests that remain outstanding after you see credits for the first time. All in all, it's a polished indie gem, and I hope it finds the audience it deserves. If you're on Game Pass, it's a no-brainer. If you have a shiny new Switch 2, this could be the perfect game for you. There is a demo on all those platforms. Play it, it's great. That's Lost in Random, The Eternal Die. So that's the end of the video. I hope that you enjoyed it. What a game that is. A really nice surprise this year. An unexpected indie game that just came out of the woodwork and blew me away. I would love to hear from you if you've come to the end of this review. If you play the game, what do you think of it? Do you think it's as good as Hades? Do you agree with my assessment that the short length is actually a boon for the game? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you. You're also welcome to get more from this channel by hopping into the Patreon over at patreon.com/gaminginthewild. There are 17 patron-only episodes about music, about travel, about all kinds of off-topic things. You will get an invite to our wonderful Discord community to hang out with like-minded indie game fans and find out about what they're playing and share what you're playing. It's a really, really good community for indie game fans, so come and join us. It's patreon.com/gaminginthewild. And with that, that's the end of the video, so take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you on the next one.